You were losing weight. Then you weren't. Nothing about your week looks different. You did not decide to stop. You did not go back to old habits. The number simply stopped moving, and it has not moved for a while now. If you have searched this question, you already know what comes back. Eat less, move more, be patient, trust the process. None of that answers the question you actually asked. This video will not tell you what to eat, what dose to take, or what to ask your doctor for. That is not what Sacred Books does, and it would not be honest anyway, because nobody watching a video knows what is happening in your particular body. What this video will do is explain why a stall can have more than one explanation, why those explanations can look the same on the scale, and why looking back is often difficult without a written record. Here is the part that matters. A stall is not one thing. It is at least 4 different things wearing the same face. They all look identical on the scale. The only way to tell them apart is to look backward at what changed and when. And that is exactly the thing most people cannot do. Start with something almost everyone gets wrong, because every chart you have ever seen taught it to you wrong. Weight loss is not a line going down. It is a series of drops and flat stretches. The flat stretches are not the exception. They are most of the time. When people describe losing weight, they describe the drops, because the drops are what they noticed. The flat weeks did not make the story. So, you arrive at your own flat week with no idea that it is normal, and you assume something has gone wrong. The scale measures everything in your body at once: tissue, fluid, food in transit, glycogen, hormonal water retention. Fat is a small part of that total, and it is the slowest moving part, which means the scale can be perfectly flat for 2 or 3 weeks while something is genuinely changing underneath. It also means the scale can be flat because nothing is changing. Those 2 situations produce the same number. The scale cannot tell you which one you are in. It was never able to. The first possibility is the simplest. Weight may still be changing even though the scale is not showing it. The measurement may be hiding that change. Water retention, a heavier sodium week, hormonal timing, a change in what time of day you weigh, constipation. Any of these can hold your number still for 2 or 3 weeks while the underlying change continues. Sometimes, the scale begins moving again without any change in routine. Other times, it does not. The important point is that changing several things at once can make it harder to understand what happened, and people who believe they have stalled tend to start changing things. The second possibility is that you are eating more than you were, and you do not know it. This is not a character failure, and it is not a lack of discipline. It is what happens when appetite suppression eases slightly. A few more bites, a snack that returned, portions that crept back toward where they used to be. Each change is small enough that no single one registers as a decision. The person eating the extra food is almost never the person who can see it. That is not weakness. That is how memory works. The third possibility is arithmetic. As body weight changes, energy needs can change as well. The routine that once produced steady weight loss may no longer produce the same result. Nothing has gone wrong. The math moved under you. The fourth possibility involves the medication itself. Time at a dose, a pause, a missed week, a pharmacy gap, a switch, a supply problem. This is where I stop, because this one belongs to you and your prescriber, not to me and not to a video. What I will say is that this conversation goes very differently depending on whether you can say what changed and when, or whether you can only say that things feel different lately. So, 4 possibilities: measurement noise, intake drift, a smaller body, something in the treatment. They call for 4 different responses. They produce one identical number on the scale. The scale cannot separate them. Your memory cannot separate them either. And that is the part worth sitting with. Try this. Without looking anything up, answer these. What week did your appetite last change? What was your dose 8 weeks ago, and how long had you been on it? When did the snack come back? What was your weight on this date last month, measured the same way at the same time of day? Most people cannot answer any of them. Not because they were careless, because nobody stores this. There was no reason to at the time. Worse than blank memory is confident memory. When you look backward, you do not replay the weeks. You reconstruct them. And you reconstruct them around what you believe now. If you think the stall started when your dose changed, your memory will supply evidence for that. If you think it started when your appetite eased, it will supply evidence for that instead. You will feel certain either way. The certainty is not information. The only version of your last 3 months that has not been edited is the one you wrote down while it was happening. A dated note takes 15 seconds and is worth nothing on the day you write it. Its entire value shows up later, on the day you need to look backward, which is today, which is why you search this question. You do not need to record everything. You need to record the details that are easy to forget and useful later. The dose and the date it changed. Weight measured the same way, at the same time of day, on the same day of the week. Appetite, not as a number, but as a plain sentence about whether you finished meals. Symptoms and the date they started. Anything that interrupted the routine, a missed dose, a pharmacy delay, a trip, an illness, that is it. 5 things. With 8 weeks of that written down, the stall stops being a mystery and becomes a question you can actually work on. You can see whether the flat stretch lines up with a dose change or with an appetite change. You can see whether this has happened before and how long it lasted last time. You can see whether your weight is flat or whether it is drifting slowly in a direction you could not feel week to week. And when you sit down with your prescriber, you bring dates instead of impressions. That is a different appointment. I cannot tell you why you stopped losing weight. Nobody can from here, and anyone who says otherwise is guessing at you. What I can tell you is that this question may have an explanation that becomes easier to understand when the previous weeks were recorded, and that most people cannot reach it because nothing was written down. The next stall is coming. It always does. The only thing that separates the version of you who can answer it from the version who cannot is whether you started keeping a record before you needed one. Sacred Books publishes the Dose and Symptom Record, an observation record for documenting dates, doses, weight, appetite, symptoms, and interruptions over time. Link in the description. Sacred Books Health is the educational channel of Sacred Books, a publisher of observation tools and records.